We're now live. It's a beautiful view of our walls, right? The bipolar-related disorders are a group of disorders defined through those discrete episodes that hallmark a change, to make things even more difficult for you, that baseline from which it is changed could be NPH, right? I'm sorry, NPD, right? It could be, which would of course further complicate things. But in focusing on Jimmy, the character in the Jimmy, there does appear to be clinically significant grandiosity. And I think our differential diagnosis does begin with the personality disorder called narcissistic personality disorder, as well as the mental disorder, likely bipolar disorder, or perhaps even bipolar 1. We're looking for additional signs and symptoms, too, to support our initial or provisional diagnosis. So in addition to the grandiosity, if there are episodes that themselves are defined through an elevated, expansive, or irritable mood, and related symptoms, and that's the DIGFAST acronym, that would further support mania and therefore bipolar 1. Remind me again then what bipolar 2 is?
Episodes of hypomania and may or may not have depressive symptoms.
Real close.
You do need to have a depressive episode.
Yeah.
But like bipolar, when you don't need to have a
But you need to have like full mania.
Exactly right. And about what percentage of people may have bipolar 1 manic episode only? 20%. Right? The vast majority, 4 times, actually have the manic episode alternate with episodes of depression. And then finally, what is cyclothymia or cyclothymic disorder?
This one, well, it has to be a period of at least 2 years, and you don't fully meet criteria for hypomania or full depression. Kind of it's alternating moods.
Again, very close. You're 99%. You get it right in a shelf. There's no way you're missing that in a shelf exam. Alternating hypomanic episodes with minor depressive episodes, which is basically what you said. But on the quote-unquote manic side, you do reach criteria for a hypomanic episode. So it's hypomanic episodes alternating with not major depressive episodes, but minor depressive episodes. Dysphoria that does not meet criteria for a major depressive episode. Give me the 3 classes of medications used to treat the bipolar and related disorders.
Mood stabilizers.
Mood stabilizers, more specific?
Like lithium, as an example.
Lithium's probably the only example. Well, probably overstating or oversimplifying this, but lithium is the clear example of the mood stabilizer. 2 other classes of medications that have gained FDA approval in treating bipolar disorder. Anticonvulsants, otherwise the anti-epileptic drugs or AEDs, right? And then number 3?
Antipsychotics.
Good, antipsychotics. How come we don't see atypical antipsychotics? Because the first antipsychotic FDA approved for use in schizophrenia is also the first one approved for use in bipolar, and that's chlorpromazine. So we can't say atypicals. We have to say antipsychotics. All right. Observations. The Jimmy, other than Jimmy.
There's a lot going on outside of. I don't know if it pertains to a specific character point, but we had the whole faking disability for the AMCA thing.
Mm-hmm. Who did that?
Kramer.
Okay.
They were insinuating that he got assaulted while he was under the laughing gas, which was wild.
So describe to me what's going on with Kramer. Are you identifying Kramer, you said?
Yeah. Kramer was.
What'd you say?
Before the faking started, right in the beginning, he was had a very odd behavior with he was I wrote it down, my losses fester, this will plague me, and he started shaking. So right away I was that's odd. And he just like catastrophized and like the whole thing, like I don't know. He just acted odd throughout the entire episode, and then when the man assumed that he had a disability, it was like it's complicated because the whole time like they set him up in a very strange way, and then you add the laughing gas, and it's like what's going on with him?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know.
So if Kramer presented to your clinical practice with these very signs and symptoms, and you're trying now to think through what is the most likely diagnosis, what is the first thought? I mean, the first thing to address is always patient safety. But after establishing patient safety, what's the next thing that you're considering as you're going through your own mental process, as your own formulation? Because what I'm hearing is that there's a discrepancy between physical exam findings or clinical findings in the patient's report, right? Often referred to as medically unexplained physical symptoms. So after establishing patient safety, what's the first thing that you have to address?
I mean, I guess one of the things you need to address is whether or not like the symptoms that they're presenting with are a result of potential condition or from a substance, that being the laughing gas.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's always a great place to start. Often referred to as a potential organic pathology. And let's say you do that investigation and you determine that his presentation is not due to the direct physiologic effects of a substance or an underlying medical condition. Next thought that comes to your mind as a clinician for medically unexplained physical symptoms.
I guess for me, like to differentiate between somatic symptom disorder and like a factitious disorder, one is, do these symptoms seem to distress the patient a lot? And then like, are they like interested in a lot of testing, or do they not want you to really explore further?
Mm-hmm. Those are definite clinical findings that you're going to seek. However, they all do fall under one umbrella. What is it? It's exactly what you said, but in general, what are you looking for? And the answer is whether or not the patient is trying to deceive you, whether they are providing you misinformation. Because if they are not trying or have a conscious effort to deceive you, it's going to put you down one algorithm, and if you discover that they are, it's going to put you down a completely separate algorithm. When you don't know, you will always defer to the idea, that flow chart, that the patient therefore is not lying, right? We're not going to say our patients are lying unless there's discrete evidence to support that they are. So if you really don't know, you're going to give your patient the benefit of the doubt, and you're going to consider then what two in your differential diagnosis. You already referred to them, or you referred to one.
If they're not deceiving you, somatic symptom disorder.
Versus?
Like illness, anxiety disorder.
Conversion disorder, right? Those are the two conditions published in the somatic symptom and related disorder chapter. One is somatic symptom disorder, and the other one is the related disorder titled conversion disorder, right? And in both cases, the individual will present with medically unexplained physical symptoms, and there will be no evidence that they are making a conscious effort to deceive you as a clinician. What differentiates somatic symptom disorder versus conversion disorder?
Conversion disorder is more specifically like neurologic, unexplained, like medically unexplained findings.
Right. And somatic symptom disorder is everything else, right? So that's your provisional diagnosis. You provide medical record documentation formulating that the individual's most likely diagnosis is blank. You'll choose between one of the two depending on their specific presentation. And then in follow-up, you discover that the patient was in fact making a conscious effort to deceive you. So now you have to adjust your provisional diagnosis and include which two diagnoses in your differential.
Factitious and malingering.
Perfect. Right? And what differentiates factitious disorder from malingering, or the condition formerly known as malingering?
The motivation for doing so.
Exactly. Right? The unconscious drive, the motivation. Right? If well, I shouldn't say unconscious, it's overstating. If the individual is incentivized to deceive the clinician through external variables, external incentives, we're going to call it malingering. That is not published in the DSM-5, but my gut says that it is still published on shelf exams. On the other hand, without any evidence of an external incentive, the clinician can only deduce that the motivation, therefore, is internal, aka unconscious, and that's called factitious disorder. So that's a very simple, stepwise approach in how to formulate your thoughts to apply to what are often very, very difficult cases. Any other observations for Kramer? What other characters you want to discuss this morning in the Jimmy?
I would say Elaine, when Jerry was telling her about like his concern over his dental equipment and like thinking that he may have been assaulted, and she like completely disregards the entire thing. There was like zero empathy. She was just like, well, you're single and you're fine, like whatever. And my jaw must have like dropped when I saw that.
Yeah, empathy is a great word there. Empathy is defined as one's capacity to view a perspective through another person's eyes, right? Through someone else's but your own. And it is a necessary building block for compassion. You can't have compassion without empathy. And Elaine does not hear Jerry's story from his perspective. So I agree with you. She's unempathetic. What does happen to Jerry? What's the one thing you can say definitively happened? In that dentist's office, I mean. And not in the episode as a whole, but in that dentist's office.
Jerry, not Jimmy, right?
Jerry, yeah.
Jimmy tripped and fell.
Between the time he enters into the office and the time he leaves, what can you be certain did happen? You guys just blanked that scene? You don't know you remember that scene? Yeah, I think you are. I mean, literally describe the scene to me. What happens?
Well, he was put under some sort of anesthetic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What anesthetic was he put under?
Laughing gas.
Yeah. What is that?
Nitrous oxide.
Yeah. Yeah. Why does a psychiatrist care about talking about nitrous oxide? Why would a psychiatrist? What?
Can it create lapses in memory?
It absolutely can. Yeah. How is nitrous oxide categorized? Inhalant. Yeah. Yeah. The Jimmy is about inhalant use. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it's about inhalant use disorder, but it's about inhalant use. I would think medicinally, although Jerry suspects it's beyond that, but at least the medicinal use of nitrous oxide as an inhalant. There are 4 subcategories of inhalants. Nitrous oxide actually sits kind of above 2 of those categories, so it's not a perfect system. But what are the 4 categories of inhalants? The hints that nitrous oxide actually is classified in 2 of the 4 categories. It's classified both as a nitrite as well as a gas. Nitrites and gases are 2 examples of subcategories of inhalants. What are the other 2? Solvents and aerosols. Any other observations? The Jimmy, coming up at the top of the hour. Final thoughts? Oh, we'll leave it here. We'll see everybody back at 12 noon to discuss Tangled. See everybody back then.